This is how to answer a D question to try and get a maximum of 5 or 6 marks. This particular D question is a question that says, describe Christian attitudes towards using animals for experiments. The key part of this question is the idea of Christian attitudes. And this basically means, what are the feelings, opinions, beliefs in favour or against the ideas of using animals for experiments? So a good answer has to include those elements to get 6 marks. So, what is it a D question is actually wanting you to do? Well, a D question is checking your knowledge of what the specific religion you have been studying actually teaches. In order to get the higher marks, you need to show in your answer a good level of understanding of the specific Christian teachings, ideas or thoughts. This is how you will get 6 marks. So what I've done is I've done a weak answer. I've tried to explain why it's a weak answer, and then I've done an improved answer and why it's an improved answer. And hopefully, if you listen to this, you'll see how you can go from 1 or 2 marks or even 3 up to 5 or 6 marks. So, what makes an answer weak? Well, here we go. Here's the answer this person has put to the question. Christians believe that using animals for experiments is wrong because it's cruel and God created the animals. Sometimes they might accept it because it might help find cures for diseases. I think this is wrong because how would you like it if someone experimented on you? This particular answer is only worth at least 1, possibly 2 marks. The question is, why is it a weak answer? To some of you it will be fairly clear. Well, I'll tell you what it does get its marks for. It gets 1 mark because it says it's cruel and God created the animals. So they've said something there about God creating the animals. It possibly gets another mark for saying they might accept it because it finds cures for diseases, although they haven't really shown any understanding of the Christian views or ideas within that answer. That is what some Christians think. So there's your 1 to 2 marks. You get absolutely no marks in a D question for giving your personal opinion, so don't do it. There is no real development of any of the points. There is no real explanation of why. It is simplistic. There are no real attitudes spoken about. Actually, there is very little understanding. You wouldn't have thought this particular person had studied the course for the last 2 years. And actually, there's very little of the Christian view involved in it at all. So that's what makes it a weak answer. So now, let's look at an improved answer that's going to be worth at least 5 marks. The first thing that the person has done has said, instead of just starting with the word Christians, they've started with some Christians. And this is the improved answer. Some Christians believe that using animals for experiments is wrong because they believe God created all life, animal and human, and he made human beings stewards over the earth. This means that humans should look after the earth and everything in it and not harm it. A lot of Christians believe that God created humans superior to the animals by giving them a living soul or conscience. This means that humans have been given an intelligence by God to use everything, including animals, in experiments if it improves human lives. All Christians would agree that being cruel to animals simply for the sake of it is not loving and is not being a good steward. Finally, Jesus said that God sees even one sparrow that falls to the ground and dies. This implies that animals are important to God. However, he does go on to say that you humans are worth more than many sparrows. So, what have they got additional marks for? Well, clearly there is a explaining and developing of the concept of stewardship and its link to animals. So this shows specific Christian understanding and teaching. Secondly, they've also explained and they've developed that humans are believed to be more important than animals, so it's okay. So it's okay to use animals for experiments. 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 So it's The third thing, they've explained why being cruel to animals is unacceptable. And then finally, they've used an example or quote of Jesus and the sparrows and linking it to the animals. This shows again specific Christian understanding. That's how this answer has improved from 1 to 2 to at least 5 marks. This is what you will need to do if you are going to get higher marks in this particular type of question.